Hello, everyone. My name is Adama Bono, and for our cross-cultural communication paper, I did a content analysis analyzing newspaper articles from the United States and Nigeria to see if their reporting practices um, were factored by individualism and collectivism. So just the basis of how I started this paper, I was wondering why reporting practices and ethics were different, were different for different countries, and I wanted to analyze why there was a big difference. So I chose to do the values of dimension, but by Jerf Hassed, by looking at the individualism and collectivism of each country. As we all know, the United States is individualistic, and countries like Nigeria are collectivistic. So I wanted to see if that was a major factor on how the reporting was done on a specific topic that I chose, which is the HIV epidemic in Nigeria. So I chose the HIV epidemic in Nigeria because even though it's depicted as strictly negative, a lot of the coverage also has positive elements such as treatment, help, and resources. And I wanted to see how each country covered it and if it was covered based on the cultural dimensions of individualism and collectivism. I ran into some issues looking for literature that pertained to journalistic practice of Nigeria. I found a lot on America, the United States, but it was very difficult for me to find some research that revolved around the journalistic practice of Nigerians. It was very interesting because I did find one article that kind of gave a brief overview of how um, the historical background on journalism in Nigeria and what their initial objectives was, which is community journalism and developmental journalism. And that kind of correlated to what the United States does, but the United States has a different outlook on how they practice journalism, objectivity and all those other different things. And I did the content analysis analyzing online newspaper articles by using the measures of individual collectivism, which was kind of difficult because doing a content analysis using those measures, it was difficult for me to measure, especially because I had to make questions that pertain to individual collectivism for my code book to explicitly examine these papers. And I think next time when I do this, or if I actually conduct a study, I'm going to do interviews or focus groups because with each online newspaper article, even though I didn't really fully delve into it, I was looking at some of the information that was embedded within these articles, and it was kind of like for me, I couldn't really tell if it was individualistic or collectivistic just because the information was kind of ranging and it was broad information given. Um, One thing I discovered while doing this is you have to figure out your methods first. I feel like when I did this, I was going to actually look at a different story. I was going to look at the kidnapping of the schoolgirls in 2014 in Nigeria, but then it just didn't work out that way. So I ended up just looking at one specific topic, which was the HIV epidemic. I think that this paper was very interesting for me because I looked at the journalistic practices from two different cultural contexts, but then I realized that individual and collectivism does have something to do with it. But when I actually conduct the study, I'm going to use interviews or focus groups, like I said before. The paper was very interesting for me to write because I never actually looked at the different journalistic practice and ethics from different countries, just strictly America. And in the future, I hope to really develop this paper to be an actual study because I think it would make a difference for journalists journalists all over the world just understanding why certain things are reported certain ways and how they're going to be reported and how can we do better reporting for different stories, especially when it's pertaining to countries outside the West. Um, and that's all. Thank you.